here to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Sam and Bucky Show. That's what I'm gonna call it every time, the Sam and Bucky Show. I think that's a better name. We apologize that you did not get to see the Sam and Bucky Show last week. We had a nice little conversation about it and experienced some technical difficulties, so I take full responsibility and apologies for that. OBS was being interesting.
On some BS.
On some real BS, because it was doing it the whole day. I could see the audio was good, but it didn't record it for some reason. But anyway, joining us back again, you know how we do it for the admin chats for the series, recaps, and reviews. Joining us today, we've got Brent. He is the host of GAG on These Balls. Brent, say hello.
How you doing, everybody?
He's taking care of that GAG Sports Network. No, he just got some new merch from GAG Sports Network. You got a new phone case, right?
Oh, yeah, I got that new phone case. It's absolutely gorgeous. Jeffrey's logo looks so fine, and very affordable pricings on teesprings.com/GrownAgeeks.
So
check
be sure to check out all that cool stuff. You might even be able to get one of these nifty Grown A Geek shirts. I've got one. He's got a sweatshirt. We've got hoodies, a whole bunch of cool stuff.
I got the joggers on as well, but you don't want me to get up first.
Really? You got, okay, cool. I saw that they have we'll be designing
they're comfy as hell.
They look like it. I like the sweatshirt I have, the premium hoodie pullover. Very nice. See, y'all gotta check that out. I'm still working to see if we can get some hats. So Jeff, I may need to get with you to see if we can get our hats designed, because they want
for sure
some very specific stuff, and I can't order a hat, and I want a hat. Since we're talking about him, Jeff is back again. He's gonna we're pretty much gonna figure out how to keep him on our regular hosting rotation, because when he doesn't host, I go way off script, and that is not good. And those of you who have been kind of watching the previous shows versus the current shows, I know you all like Jeff being here as well. Jeff, say hello.
What's up, everybody? Very excited to be here.
And as always, all things Marvel. You know him, you love him. He's here with us again today. Will, say what's up, Will.
Yeah.
So everybody's been getting on Will's nerves lately, talking about this whole DC thing. So we're not going to talk any DC today. We are going to talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier. So let's get to it. Handed it right over to Battlestar's Hairline.
Just noticed.
Yeah.
So petty. Love it.
Let's start off with our initial thoughts. I really like to get a good gauge of how everybody felt about the episode going in. So let's start. Will, let's start with you. Like, initial thoughts. Did you like the episode? How did you receive the Star Spangled Man title episode?
I think the episode was a good introduction to him and what I would say the government sees as important for Captain America to be showcased, that he's still around, that he's still here to a degree and stuff like that. So I think that being shown in light of how the government, sees him is spot on. And I like the transition in tone to the latter part of the episode, where we get more information on characters that were, much needed to be shown and stuff like that, to give more of a backstory, and it kind of fills in a few gaps and stuff like that for what happened in the past MCU that is not really shown on screen. So, and it also sets up for the future of the MCU. So it's just cool how they kind of pull everything together.
Yeah, for sure. Brent, thoughts, feelings?
There was a lot going on in that episode, and like Will was saying, they showed Captain America for exactly what the United States government wants him to be, just the perfect propaganda tool so they can sell and make all that merch money and make him look like he's super official. He's all this, that, and the other. We get certain feelings about him as the episode transpires, but I was really happy that more of Bucky and Sam's story were thoroughly delved into as this episode progressed, and more of who they are is being fleshed out, because I think they were great side characters throughout the MCU movie storyline. It's nice to have them brought to the main light so we can really get to know these two great characters.
For sure. Sam?
Very happy with the, as Will pointed out, the introduction of some overlooked characters in the MCU. Project Rebirth was a really, really big deal in the comics, and the introduction of some of those characters being highlighted was definitely a plus. Of course, it's one of those things that it causes me to automatically go and start, playing with my little red string, my little ball of yarn when you see certain things, and I'm like, oh, okay, so who is this person? Who is that person? Does that mean? And running with that. As far as the new Captain America, yeah, I had a lot of jokes for him first episode just because he looked kind of goofy, and I was like, really had a problem with that helmet. I still kind of have a problem with that helmet, but I will say, as they were doing the little interview, Good Morning America, I was honestly rather impressed. John Walker's resume as a soldier, it sounds legit. And it's almost like, okay, I guess we can put a little respect on his name because he's doing the job before he has the shield, and he still kind of wants to do the job even after getting the shield and the outfit. He wants it to be more than just fan service. So I'll reserve judgment till I get a little bit more, but right now I don't necessarily hate him.
Yeah. I think my initial thoughts on the episode were, one, I did really enjoy the episode. I thought it was a great balance of action, world building for like outside of this show and within this show. Can't just be punch all the time. I actually follow the comic book artist Patrick Zurcher. And he always he talks on Twitter, and he talks a lot about just like what makes a good comic book. And one of his things is just like modern comics just don't have enough like talking and dialogue. And I think, a lot of times we as movie and TV watchers sometimes just want stuff to just like, we just want Michael Bay for an hour, but eventually we got to know why stuff is blowing up, why this person's kicking that person. And I think, the pace of the show, I think, is really like, it's a slow build, and I'm really, really enjoying where you get really good fight scene. Like there's 2 episodes in a row where we've had like some really solid fight scenes. But also, a lot of talking, a lot of building, and you just kind of have to do that when you're introducing the characters, and also fleshing out characters that maybe we think we know, but are kind of realizing that we don't really know at all. So yeah, those are just my initial thoughts. And I think, Sam, what you were saying is perfect segue into just like what we're going to talk about first. Obviously, the previous episode ends with John Walker coming out in the helmet, and it was a week of jokes on the internet, memes galore, calling them everything from Fap to Carl from Up. And it was probably a rough week, and I'm sure that's probably what happened in the MCU as well when they revealed him, because if this is a kind of a world that's almost like just superheroes dropped into kind of the world we live in now, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say memes exist too. So it's probably a lot of Captain America fat memes in the MCU. I would love to actually see some of those on the show, but who knows how far they would go with that. But
memes actually do have to exist because Shuri has confirmed. What are those?
Oh,
and why do
for
you have
sure.
your toes out of my lap? So clearly they're aware of memes. There has to be Captain America memes as a result.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of start with just this question, because from his interview and from his conversation with Hoskins and unnamed woman in the beginning, who I'm assuming is either his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend or somebody from high school, it kind of seems like, he feels this weight. He feels this pressure. He's probably seen all the memes. And the MCU is doing, I think, a good job of trying to build him up, at least in this world, as, someone to root for, someone to be a hero. For us, we're very much like, that's not my Captain America. And I'm sure there are some people like that too. Do you guys have like any sympathy for Walker at all, just for like what he's being asked to do, the shoes he's being asked to fill. Like, did this interview kind of change any of that perspective for you guys at
Are we
all?
talking about specifically just the interview, or like as the episode progresses?
Just the
Because my
interview
opinion
and
of him changes as it goes.
just the interview in the beginning, because I think like for me I think that's the point. They want to kind of like start you in one place, and then as the episode goes, our opinion can like shift. But you know, our opinion, I think as viewers, was kind of just like, well, he ain't Chris Evans. But I think the MCU is trying to do something where they're saying like, yeah, but he's his own person and he's got these qualities and those qualities, and like, shouldn't that be someone that you root for, even if it's not the Captain America you grew up on?
I mean, we're supposed to root for him in the sense that he's the representation and symbol of, America for, the MCU. But at the same time, it's still kind of, those are some big ass shoes. And I would not want to be the guy who has to walk into that role.
Yeah.
Can he lift Mjolnir? That's my question.
That's, you know what? That's a valid question.
That should have been the question instead of, hey, did you jump on a grenade? Can you lift Mjolnir? It's a job requirement now.
Yeah. And I'm for me, it just from the interview, like I said, I can understand the point he's making. And at least he sounds like he legitimately wants to do good. But I think before I could have signed up, I would need to be in the position to be able to like lift a car, hold a helicopter with wingspan. I'm not just jumping out there to be Captain America without the same options that Cap had. And that's where I'm kind of questioning it and say that, maybe we got to give the guy the benefit of the doubt that, okay, he's just doing his part, his civic duty, if you will. And that alone is to be commended.
We already got the Amazon version of Captain America. Now we got the Wish version. So we got to make do with what we got, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree in some respect, right? Like, you got to have sympathy because he's coming into a situation where, I mean, one of the most beloved heroes the earth has ever seen, and you're coming in trying to fill those shoes. But I kind of agree with you too, Sam, where it's just like, if you're going to give me the shield, you got to give me the shot too, baby. I need this juice, because as we see later on in the episode, like, the stuff that he's going up against is not like, he's not Batman. He's not just going out here fighting like alley criminals.
Clearly the juice exists. I mean, maybe they don't know it at that time, but the juice exists. And I'm kind of wondering, like, if we're at the point of that fight scene, and they keep doing real good with this by opening up with this big fight scene and making me sit through the whole episode looking for another fight scene. I got to give them credit for that, because they had me hooked. But, if he's fighting against these people who are amped up and juiced up the way they are, and they have these powers, even with his, they showed him practicing with the shield. And I have to say, like, he clearly put in some practice with that shield, because he was slinging that thing the way you would expect a Captain America to do. So that makes me wonder, like, are we going to find out at some point that maybe he himself is enhanced?
All I know is if I go out there and somebody drop kick me off a tractor trailer and they got juice, that's going to be a hard debriefing for whoever debriefed me. Like, I got questions about why I don't have this. Like, it ain't just the shield. Him and Battlestar. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, well, we both going out here. We supposed to be the new Captain America and Bucky, or Captain America and Falcon. I ain't got no wings. I ain't got no super soldier serum. Like, what exactly am I supposed to be doing against this greater threat? So, and then even to Will's point, can you lift the ham? And I think that even goes to like Brent's point as well. It's like, he's what the U.S. government sees Captain America as. He's not necessarily what we as MCU viewers or the Avengers and the people who know Cap closely, not necessarily embodying that. And I think that's where, even later in the episode where we're seeing like that tension, it's just like, this is not something you can just like step into. And even to his resume, there's like a line later where he's like, did you jump on a grenade? He's like, yeah, actually 4 times. There's this thing I do with my helmet. It's like, no, but it's like, that's not what it's about. It's not about having a helmet thing where you can jump on a grenade and it blows up and doesn't kill you. It's about
being willing
It's
to
about
will you
doing
die?
this.
Yeah. Will you die for this? And I think there's just this thing where it feels like he's missing the point every now and then, even in the later conversation that he has with Sam and Bucky in the truck. And he's like, I'm just trying to like, do my best to be the best Captain America I can be. And it would really be great if I could have Captain America's sidekicks next to me to like validate it. Now, that's not what he said, but essentially that's what he said. It's like, if y'all rock with me, everybody will rock with me. And he's trying to do it without earning it.
And he's trying to get over without doing the work. And that's exactly the opposite of what Chris Evans' Captain America was. He died for his country. He died to protect, everything he stood for. Like, literally everything about Steve Rogers was just, I'm willing to make the ultimate sacrifice that nobody else would every single time. Even if it was like your average Tuesday.
And even when you look at Civil War, his integrity. He's like, I'm not going to be a government puppet, even though y'all put this in me and I'm Captain America and I'm supposed to be about what America is about. It's like, if America is not doing something that I believe America should be about, then I'm out and I'm on the run and I'm a fugitive. And we seem to forget, like, Captain America was probably, top of the most wanted list for 2 years, him and Sam. Yeah. So you're not going to come in and be like, I'm here to fill those shoes. Like, bruh, you went with me when I was shooting in the gym. You know what I mean? Like, was you rebounding and helping put these shots up? Because, you asking me to co-sign something, to co-sign you into something that I haven't seen for myself. And it's not something that you can like ask for me to do. And it's like, he doesn't get that. And he's just like in a tough spot. And I look at it like this, like you don't like, all money ain't good money. Sometimes you just got to say no. Sometimes you just got to be like, you know what, this is an impossible situation. I'll do everything I can, sir. Yes, sir. But as far as that shield, if it ain't coming with the shot and it ain't coming with the support of the people who knew Cap best, who I'm going to like, you can't come in with the shield. Like, they gave me this. Can y'all help me? It's like,
no, can I gain? You need to go out there with it. Apparently, they thought you was ready to prove it. Yeah,
good luck.
Nah, player, you got it.
I'm just a sidekick. Remember? Exactly. Whoosh, fly away. Okay. Anybody?
That shield.
Go ahead.
I was trying to figure out how much practice he had with the shield. Sam had the shield the whole time. How much practice time did he get? How much time had passed in between him giving the shield back to the museum to when John Walker got it?
I mean, if they're using that little flashback clip, then it's just, all I can think is he like took a day, or maybe he was pre-practicing, but then I don't think another shield would have.
Because it's not
you do them best shot thing where everybody try to get the ping pong in the cup and so like that. And he's like, they took the best clip and they put it in the little folder. Like, I got it at one time. It's just good, exactly. Right? It's just tight. It's right. Yeah, it was right with that. So yeah.
It's like throwing the basketball off the stadium and making the hoop.
Yeah, dude, perfect.
How many times they do that? Just the one, because that's the one we uploaded.
Yeah, for sure.
Even so, right, I mean, so, like the shield got returned. It was in the museum. I imagine they left it in the museum for a day and then immediately pulled it out and was like, okay, here, go do your thing. Get familiar with this, because we're going to introduce you next week. Because it wasn't a very long time after that he was released. So
I'm assuming personally that Sam just gave them the shield like a while ago and had already made the decision he wasn't going to do it. because it's not like he walked into the Smithsonian thing with the shield in his hand and was like, "Here you go, guys." So he probably turned it over like months ago, and he was using it to train. And then they were just like, "All right, we're gonna have this ceremony where we hang it up in the museum, and then that shit coming down, and we about to go to work because we can't be America without Captain America." So moving on from that, Bucky's watching it. Sam's I'm sure everybody in America is probably watching the interview, the new Captain America. So Bucky basically confronts Sam about it, and later in the episode, we kind of get to the heart of why Bucky's so upset about Sam giving up the shield. Because as we know, Bucky and Sam aren't particularly close, and even says in the first episode that Bucky's been ignoring Sam's calls. So Sam is on his way to a mission to find something to do with the Flag Smashers and all this stuff like that. And basically Bucky's just like, I'm going to. And this is where we start getting into our bad boys, lethal weapon kind of buddy. I do it this way. I'm the crazy one. You're not. We butt heads kind of tension. So this is kind of our first time really seeing it on this mission. It comes ahead a couple times when Sam just jumps out the airplane and doesn't tell him the plan. When Bucky's like, it's only 2 people. Like, let's just go beat them up. And then Sam's like, actually, there are 5 people. I have this technology, blah, 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 blah. What did you guys kind of think about, like, the building, the rekindling of that it's not even like a bromance. I don't know what the
like a
word
love-hate relationship.
Yeah. Like the combination of like a bromance, but also frenemies.
Yeah. Frenemies.
Brenemies.
There we go. New one. Brenemies. It's exactly what it is.
Like, how did y'all feel about like that kind of relationship building between them?
I like that those 2 characters, Bucky and Sam, have always played well off one another. In that when we think back to like Civil War, the first time we saw them kind of separated and having to team up for the first time, and they were fighting against Spider-Man, they saw what they had there and they've kind of stuck with it and they've continued the same. There's a level of respect they both have for one another because of Captain America, and they give. Even though they're constantly giving each other shit about it, they still maintain that level of respect to one another as a result of Cap. Now that Cap is not here, I'm curious to see if they're going to maintain that same respect. And of course, that's something that comes up in the conversation later. And, it had to deal specifically because of Cap. So I like their interaction with each other. I like, they're like siblings. And so they play really well off one another.
No, I think it's good.
Go ahead, Will.
No, so I think it's good. I think that they definitely give you, like you said, that lethal weapon feel. So that's kind of like, okay, I'm stuck with you. And stuff like that. I can't get rid of you. And stuff like that. So let's just make this work. And it's that build up. You see how they're kind of off kilter with each other. Bucky's more of that brash, we're gonna run in, so like that, while Sam's trying to be tactical about it, and they're clashing right now. But I think it's gonna, over the course of the show, which it's only 6 episodes like that, they're definitely gonna build that chemistry, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see something similar to, thank you, Sam, for reminding me, when Iron Man got his ass whooped in Civil War and stuff like that. We may see something to that effect, later on down the line, and stuff like that. Again, and it kind of shows how far they've come along, because that was a big moment for Cap and Winter Soldier. That shows just how long they've known each other, how long they've worked together. They're able to just sync like that. So I think we could get something similar like that for them two later on.
Brent, thoughts about the Brenemies?
I mean, it was really nice.
Brenemies t-shirt.
It was really nice seeing that they actually had some level of chemistry with one another. Because I feel like if you tried forcing this relationship upon different set of people in the MCU, it just wouldn't work. But because both of them have earned their respect from Cap, and then, being on the same side during many different scenarios that played out throughout the MCU, they have a lot of the same ideals, but the way they go about things, as Sam pointed out, is completely different things. One wants to go about it just full balls out. I don't care who's here. I'm just gonna go run and smash somebody's face in. And then there's Sam, who's like, I'm going to take my time, come up with a plan, think things methodically, and then handle my business. So it's an interesting dynamic for sure.
Yeah. And I think, there's also this dynamic of like when Cap was there, that's like daddy. When daddy come in the room, everybody says stop, everybody stop. But now it's like mom and daddy at home, and you got two twins and nobody knows who's in charge. And one of them's like, well, I came out 3 minutes first. And the other one's like, so what? I'm more responsible. I'm smarter, yada, yada. So right. I think there's going to be a lot of tension about who's giving orders, who's taking orders, and all this different stuff like that. And I'm honestly interested to see how it continues because, like, the fight scene, which we're going to go into next with them fighting the flag smashers on the highway. I really like this fight scene a lot because I think, last episode I kind of, we're going to try our best to like save that episode. I'm working on some audio stuff to kind of try to see if I can like beef it up. But in the last episode, I did kind of talk about how like that was one of the first times we really have seen like an extended like flying fight scene with Falcon where we weren't cutting back to Cap and cutting back to Natasha and all these other people. But this time we see him like flying lower to the ground, and we're really getting a sense of just like what kind of hero Sam can be and what kind of damage he can do in all types of scenarios. Cause when you talk about Falcon, it's like, well, if we ain't going on a plane and a helicopter mission, I don't need nobody to jump out. What do I need him for? But he's slinging that thing close to the ground too, and he flying between tractor trailers underneath, saving Bucky's butt. And he don't have no super soldier serum, so they was kicking the shit out of him a little bit. But his maneuverability, I found that fight scene, I was just very like, I've been very curious and I've been very impressed with just like how they've used his like powers and fighting and skill set up until this point.
His combat prowess has improved for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But we see the flag smashers, who we kind of alluded to, and we actually meet their leader, Carly Morgenthau. I hope I'm saying that right. The curly haired girl kicked the shit out of Winter Soldier, kicked him through a truck into the windshield of another truck. So now we know we're dealing with super soldiers, basically. But I think we really want to focus on just like the philosophy. There was like a good scene where they were all kind of just like sitting around talking, and basically what we're learning is there's some people who agreed with Thanos. We're talking about a 5-year period where Earth's population was cut in half, so there's plentiful resources. I'm really waiting for the MCU to go more in detail on like what exactly happened, because they keep alluding to the world governments, and people are saying one people, one world, and all this other stuff like that, but we don't really know all of that stuff. We kind of are seeing it from our point of view of like, well, a lot of our beloved characters just like poofed away, and now they're back and we're excited. But what if you're not excited? What if your school bully poofed back, or that boss that always gives you shit poofs back? And then you're kind of like, oh man, maybe Thanos was right. I just wanted to kind of get what you guys feel about kind of this kind of emerging revelation that everybody's not happy about people blipping back.
I mean, it's hard from the viewer perspective to fill in the gap there, because there was that time period gap where obviously there's no footage. We don't know what happened. I mean, Spider-Man had one take on it that's super hilarious, that everybody comes back. WandaVision was very serious. And now you get this other extreme of everyone's pissed off, and they're pissed off enough to start a war underneath everything to kind of push their ideals forward. So without that footage, it's hard for us to get a feel on what exactly they're trying to get back. Like what was so ideal about, having everybody gone for that blip.
I got a few takes on it with you got to think about with how government definitely, crumble to a degree. You got to think of like what happened with Wall Street, what happened with all of that. So that a lot of financial issues, which is about them tightening down restrictions in the bank scene and stuff like that. A lot of people had to make do with, you know, a 5-year gap. Different people were put into power and stuff like that. So of course, when people start coming back, they want a spot back. They want freaking, you know, things to be back how they were. Think if somebody, you know, lost their husband and stuff like that, and then, you know, years later down the line, so like that, freaking, hey, I've remarried and had 2 kids, and then you show back up. It's like, what are they supposed to do? I mean, it's so many things going on from a financial, from a, you know, personal perspective and stuff like that, that people don't know how to deal with it. And I think that comes along with Marvel not showing anything involved in that, because they want us to kind of let our imagination run wild. Think, how fucked up can the world get if it gets to this point? And I think that with, you know, Carly and her people and stuff like that, they may have felt they had more equal footing when everybody was gone. Freaking, maybe they were in the slums, so to speak, and they were able to elevate themselves because there wasn't a lot of shit going on. So that's how they felt better about the world. And yeah, that kind of solved problems. But then everybody came back. It's like, well, shit. Now I realize how fucked up the world is, you know, in their eyes and stuff like that. And now they're trying to do the same thing and fix it and become the elite, I guess, you know, above the rest of, you know, whoever's in charge, so that they can fix the problem. And it kind of dates back a little bit to the Civil War with the whole registration with the Sokovia and stuff like that. So I mean, it could go either way right now. We don't know their full intentions, so it's all speculation at this point.
I think with the as far as how the 5-year period with the blip, you know, you definitely bring up some good points as far as how things would work. At some point, they have to accommodate for the change, and you know, if after that first year, they get the feeling like, okay, this is just how things are now. So there may be new laws. You know, once you get your governments back up and running and things like that, you might make new laws and have new plans in place and things like that. Well, all those people who were gone, as you were mentioning, like the boss, the bully, you know, the former spouse, those people suddenly just show back up. Are you now married to 2 people? Which marriage is the legal marriage? Which marriage is the valid marriage? You know,
because you don't even know, you've been gone 5 years, but when you come back, it's like yesterday.
Right. And for all those people, no time has passed for them. It hasn't been 5 years for them.
Yeah.
So they haven't
mess
aged.
around, blip back in bed, and it's,
you know, they
me and he.
One couple moved in, you just can pop in between them. Oh.
Right.
Oh.
You know, and so it's like you have these situations where, you know, people are having to try to accommodate for things a little differently. So it seems like the Flag Smashers are probably of the mindset that, you know, clearly they liked when things changed. They liked the new laws that were put in place, and they're sticking with that. And you know, I'm curious as to, I don't think that they want to go around killing half the population. I can't believe that is that's a bold move for Marvel if that's the way they're going about it.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're trying to kill half the population. So I am curious as to what their real desire is, what goal they're trying to obtain to get things back to the way the world was before everybody blipped back. Like, what changes do they want to reenact? And, you know, it could be maybe governments were more reliant on one another, because this was a universal crisis. This wasn't just something that happened in this place or that place. All around the world, half the population was gone. So
the entire universe.
Well, yeah, definitely. So I mean, it's going to be a situation where this country, that country, the other country, these countries probably worked a little better, because since everybody had half their population, they may not have as many people with the knowledge necessary. So they had to reach out, and that might have been more of a one government system, and it was a little bit more universal. So yeah, I would love to have them outline what that 5-year period was like.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, like, I think when we were talking about WandaVision before, and we were kind of getting into like some of the nitty gritty of just like blipping back, and I've had like a lot of conversations with people who don't necessarily want to accept my gory take on it, which is like if you was in an airplane when you blip back just like in the middle of the sky and probably just fall like 25-30,000 feet to your death. But also you got to look at, you know, stuff like food. Like half the population disappears right away. You already have enough food for the entire world at that point. And then over a 5-year plan, over 5 years, you can adjust your supply chain to just be like, okay, we got 3 billion people on Earth. We've been able to feed everybody so far. We have like a supply chain that can like support that. And then instantly 3 billion people show back up. You don't have enough food for everybody on day one. You know what I mean? Think about housing and homelessness. I mean, it's enough houses for everybody in America right now to have a house, not to get super political, but I think when you have an event like that happens, what happens? We all come together. You know, 9/11, we all came together as a country. Tragedies happen, people come together. Worldwide tragedy happens, everybody in the world probably comes together. I'm sure a lot of presidents disappeared, a lot of dictators disappeared, a lot of high-ranking officials who were keeping shady stuff going on behind closed doors disappeared. And so then we have a common goal, which is getting Earth back on track, getting everybody to like move forward. Because if the whole world is depressed, nothing's moving, nothing's happening. And they probably all gave up hope on seeing any of these people again, just because like after 5 years, if Cap ain't brought them back and all the Avengers haven't been able to do nothing, but hell, half of them disappeared too, you know, trying to stop it from happening. I think everybody kind of accepts like, you know what, this is just the world now. And especially if you're like young or like come from an impoverished place where you're like, finally, like I have something, I can do something. There's like space for me to like, it's like living in a mansion and then having to move out of that mansion into like a trailer park. Like you just are used to having more space, used to doing more. Hell, your commute to work is like twice as long now because like 3 billion people are back on the planet. Pollution, air quality.
I mean, even if we just look at the current condition of the world with the pandemic, you know what I'm saying? Like you talk about that commute to work. From where we live to where my wife actually has to drive to work, you know, having to go through the Atlanta traffic. In order for her to be at work at 7 a.m., she had to leave our house by 5:30. Now, that would put her at her job 6:30, 6:45, but that was the only way she could get there to make sure she would be there on time to be there at 7. Yep. Coming home, it didn't matter what time she left, just because of the volume of traffic in the evenings, that was going to be almost a 2-hour drive. And that would be on a good day. Some days it could, if there was an accident or something, there could be, you know, that could be even longer, 2.5 hours. Now with the pandemic, it literally takes her 45 minutes either way, any time of day.
Yep. So she gonna join the Flag Smashers. So
she's like, we do not need to go back. Like, we gonna keep things as they are. She got her little face mask. You should see it. It's so cute.
I think the big thing that I've realized is just like the people coming back is just like yesterday, right? So all these people who built this utopia for 5 years, the people who came back don't know nothing about that. So, you know, you think about some of the conflicts going on in the world right now, even stuff like, I mean, it doesn't really look like racism went anywhere from these first 2 episodes, but some of the border crises and different things like that, I'm sure a lot of places found ways to get past that. Now you blip back in and you seeing people walk down the street that you ain't used to, you know, seeing walk down your street, and you like, well, what is going on over here? You know, you didn't get to experience that growth. You didn't go through that process of like shaping a better world, and you're just probably not going to be as down for it because, you know, people don't want to change. So I'm really curious to see like and understand more of their philosophy, and beyond that, just like how they plan on instituting it. Because I agree, it's like you're not going to kill 3 billion people. I mean, maybe maybe they're working on some biological something or whatever, but I
They're
don't
ready
know.
to nuke New York in Avengers, so I
Yeah,
don't put it past them.
true that. So after, dealing with the Flag Smashers, I think it becomes very clear we're dealing with super soldiers. Well, lo and behold, how is that possible? Because it's not supposed to be no more. It's supposed to really just be Bucky and Cap to a degree. And, even thinking historically, like a lot of your favorite Marvel characters got their powers based on them trying to figure out a way to recreate like the super soldier serum. There's like a whole list of them. Luke Cage being one, Incredible Hulk being another one. Those are probably like the two probably biggest ones. But Bucky takes Sam to meet Isaiah Bradley. So I'm gonna let our Marvel experts just give us like a little brief 2-minute rundown on like who that is in the comics, and then we'll shift back and kind of talk about the scene that we experienced here.
Will, did you want to take it or?
You can start it. I'll finish it.
Okay. Isaiah Bradley is a character that exists in an issue of in a comic called Truth, Red, White, and Black, and the short version is they use the cover of the Tuskegee experiments. Basically, they tried to Project Rebirth attempted to recreate the super soldier serum, as you mentioned, and they used 300 African American soldiers, and they were the people who were used as the test subjects for this. Of those 300, Bradley is the only one who survived, and he went on to, operate in these covert missions that U.S. government asked him to do. On one of his last missions, and this is the one that he was, most well known for, he actually puts on a Captain America suit. He has like the chainmail design. He's got the star, and he does in fact carry a very similar shield. He doesn't have the vibranium shield or anything like that, but it's in some of the older versions of Captain America, he had that tri-point shield. It's one like that. That was the shield he carried. He has all of the same power sets. He's military trained. Now he doesn't have the same extensive training that Cap has, but it's not to be scoffed at because he was in fact a soldier. He was in the U.S. armies, and he was trained by the U.S. Army, and now as a super soldier he's able to go and perform as requested. I'll let you take over from there, Will.
So a lot of stuff with Isaiah Bradley came down to him, basically taking up the role of Captain America when Cap was presumed dead. So a lot of the work that he did with that was for the government in the name of Captain America. Now, his reward for that, and I can't remember the exact specifics behind it, but he ended up getting locked up freaking once all the threats were contained, most of the stuff was done. They didn't want him out running the streets for whatever reason, so at that, and he ended up getting locked up. And one of the things that was noted in the show, so that they mentioned about how he had to scrap with Bucky, and so at that because nobody else could get it done, so at that. So and let's just assume that was the last event that he handled, and so at that. When all that stuff went down, and so at that, they've continued running tests to figure out how he survived, how he was able to, have all the powers roughly of Captain America, and how they could continue to recreate it. Because you gotta remember, he was a lab experiment when all this started, and stuff like that. So the fact that he was able to handle everything and keep everything, they're like, okay, well, maybe he is the key to us fully recreating this. So again, keeping him locked up, keeping him experimented on, all this other stuff just led to more and more hate and animosity and stuff build up. And it sounds kind of pretty similar to today's life for a lot of young men and stuff like that, freaking, who are incarcerated for no reason, and again experimented on, so to speak, for the government. So now when it comes down to him so that he's eventually released and stuff like that for, and again, they may explain all this stuff later on, but he's just trying to live a normal life or a semblance of a normal life from what he can. And he knows that freaking he's done great things, but he'll never get credit for them. He'll never be known for that. He's literally freaking just, a mark in the book that they probably keep tabs on and stuff like that. And that's probably a condition of his release. Like he can't say nothing about it, talk about it, nothing to that effect. So that he just has to go and live a normal life and stuff like that. And again, let Captain America still continue to be the Captain America that they're now parading out in front of everybody in this new day and age with John Walker. So that's the long and short of it.
Yeah.
Cool. And I think, well, Brent, did you have anything you wanted to add about Isaiah Bradley?
Well, adding on to what they were saying, I'm just going to keep it short. Basically, from what we know in the MCU, his name would have been one of the people when we went through Winter Soldier's movie. He would have been one of the people that would have been shot. He would have been one of the people taken out when they had the 3 helicarriers ready to just eliminate everybody who was special. His name would have made the list. And I'm sure he has to feel like this is a giant middle finger to him and everything that he contributed to America as a whole, only to get kicked to the side. Captain America comes in, everything's, brand new when, Cap comes back. It's like, oh, yep, carry on. There's nobody in between. And then now to have the new guy take charges, well, probably just even bigger middle finger.
Yeah. And I feel like at least like with Cap coming back, it's like, well, he was the original. So I get why when he comes back, they would throw him right back out there. But yeah, to see like see some new dude who don't even have powers like donning the shield publicly, I think I would take that as a huge slap in the face. And I think it really brings to mind just like some of the criticism that I've been seeing online about just like, why is MCU like wanting to bring race into this? And we've had 2 incidents in 2 episodes, Sam not getting the loan, cop after they leave Isaiah Bradley's house, Sam being mad and the cop rolling up and all that stuff. But I think the reality is, at least from my perspective, that the MCU is supposed to be basically like the world we live in right now if there were superheroes. And that means all the stuff that like you can't have Captain America and it be set in some fantasy world where there was no racism, no slavery, no nothing. Like we had World War I, we had World War II. We've seen these things. We've seen these historical events.
They even name dropped the Vietnam War.
Exactly.
In the episode.
Exactly.
So it's set as currently as it can be.
So they've set this up as a world whose historical timeline essentially follows our own. What is the like logic? I don't understand the logic of people who are looking at this and being confused about why race is being interjected in any way. I don't know if you guys had any thoughts on it, but I'll just keep my thoughts to this. Race has always been a part of comics, whether it's through allegories like X-Men, which were supposed to kind of give the struggle of what it was like to be a person of color, all the way to like more overt things, i.e. Black Panther fighting the KKK, Green Arrow and Green Lantern going on a road trip across America and encountering also the KKK. This dealt with things like drugs and sexism, abuse, child abuse, molestation. Like comics have always dealt with like our most serious issues as a culture, and this is one of them. And just because you live in a world, in a bubble where you can close your eyes and not think about these things, and you get mad when like your favorite things don't like let you keep that utopia. It's like, look, man, if you want to watch something and not deal with racism, go watch Star Trek. And that's not a knock on Star Trek, because I love Star Trek, but that's where you're going to find that utopia where they move past it. And even then, you're going to have some time travel episodes where they remind you of how far the human race has come.
And even then, it's the unity of the unity of the Federation and whatnot, and all the different species. So they got a whole lot more to worry about than just the color of skin. They got to worry about where you're actually from, not what street you repping, but where you're what planet you're from.
Yeah, like where you from? Klingon homeworld.
That's need to know info.
Go ahead, Brent.
The only thing I'm going to say is, as a white man in America, I can't speak to the full effect of what Black Panther represented, what X-Men represented, or anything of that nature. What I can speak to is that people who are uncomfortable with this probably need to take a deeper look of self-reflection. It's 2021. It's time to get over some of those issues. Just because things can make you uncomfortable doesn't mean they don't need to be talked about, doesn't mean they don't need to be discussed, doesn't mean it needs to be brought to proper attention. The only thing I find weird with it is that it's Disney, and considering their founder's history of being proudly anti-Semite, not really the company I would have thought would be trying to bring this to the forefront.
They're trying to get better. They're trying to improve.
Yeah.
With their zero tolerance policy that only applies when they feel like enforcing it. Rano. So moving on.
She had several chances.
That she did. I mean, shoot yourself. But Truth, Red, White, and Black. Another thing to the point of why they're just interjecting it. It is important to notice that that comic was actually published in 2003, and there's even a little part in the comic itself that kind of helps to clarify the timeline of the character and where it fits in the 616 continuity and all that kind of stuff. That's a lot of geek speak for those of you who don't speak it. They explain why he's where he is when he is. Because it's, instead of just referring to Isaiah Bradley as the Black Captain America, which is, legitimately how he's referred to in many cases, it is better to understand why he is in fact called Captain America, because at that time there was no Captain America because he was presumed dead. He was sitting in the ice somewhere, and Isaiah was the one who now had the super soldier serum in him. So you can actually go out. You can find that comic. A quick screen share there. This is what it looks like. It's called Marvel Red, White, and it's Truth, Red, White, and Black. It's written by Robert Morales, Kyle Baker, and it's a very good comic. I would definitely say if anybody gets an opportunity, check that out. So that's our quick little plug for that. But
Tight. So after leaving Isaiah's house, he throws him out. Basically, he just wanted to see if he's basically like, I just
was
wanted
that a
to see
can of
if
sardines that he put in the wall though? That was what it was.
I don't know what it was, but
that was one of those scenes where it was like,
can of fucking spam.
I need to see him. I need to see more from him because my man, and it like just the way it stuck in the wall was like that was basically anything in his hands becomes a weapon.
Yeah.
Because he could
They say the last thing you lose is your jump shot. I guess when you super soldier, the last thing you lose is your shield fling. But yeah, like
it was a really backhand, sticks to the wall, hangs cockeyed, which is completely against what gravity wants you to do, and it's just it doesn't even move. It's just stuck.
So then they go outside. Sam's obviously upset, probably more upset, I would say, with Steve for not telling him that there was a Black Captain America than Bucky. But then 5-0 shows up, gets involved. Obviously, they think
bothering you.
Yeah, they think Sam's the problem. They think Bucky needs help. Turns out Bucky's the one who ends up getting arrested for missing his therapy session.
He got warrants.
Yeah. So just a little irony there. I found it humorous as someone who's been in that situation before.
I think it was specifically written.
And then they go to the jail. We're gonna blaze through some of this. Yeah, they blaze through it. Here comes John Walker trying to bail people out of jail, being everybody's friend and stuff. And then the therapist shows up and it's basically like, in order for them to let you go, you need to come do a session right now, both of y'all. So we get this joint session, and we get Lethal Weapon vibes again until basically it breaks down where Bucky reveals that Sam giving up the shield was causing him to have questions of his own self-worth, just because Sam stamped both of them. And so if
Cap.
he was wrong about, Cap stamped both of them. So if Cap was wrong about Sam, that meant he was also could be wrong about Bucky. And, I thought it was just like a very like good moment of vulnerability to kind of show, the 360 of like where you guys, where the show is going to go. But how did you guys feel about just like the overall, like the therapy interrogation type vibe that was going on there? Even just like with Walker trying to kind of almost manipulating him by like bailing him out of jail and showing up all smiling and happy after their last encounter.
I think it didn't really have much effect on them as far as him showing up freaking in that first part. They're kind of like, yeah, whatever. Like, we don't give a shit. Like, we've been locked up before. We don't give a crap about that. I do like the therapy session, not necessarily freaking how it was done. I ain't really trying to, knock knees with freaking, somebody else. But the fact that, she forced them to confront each other without freaking them, and that's the whole point of the locking knees. Like, you had to sit straight, you had to look in that direction, so like that, and to get out what is bugging and stuff like that. And I think there's still stuff that's bugging Sam that he's a little bit more, hard up to get out, so like that. But Bucky ain't got a lot of shit going on. Like, this is all he's got, so like that. And technically, Sam is all he's got left besides his making amends. So it's like, that had to come out so he could, get his point across. Like, hey, like, why did you? Because, Cap's gone, and all he's left is his legacy, and what he thinks about you and with me. And now I feel like that's gone. So he's like slipping and so like that. He don't want to feel like that when he finally held on to something. So it makes a lot of sense for what Bucky needed and stuff like that, and it does a lot for the growth of Bucky because we've seen him for 10 years now. Playing this character, so like that. So this character development is definitely freaking needed. I mean, it's already going good for him, so like that, as far as character development, but it kind of puts that exclamation on it, like, oh shit, like Bucky's not only is he dealing with some shit we saw the last episode, but now he's dealing with this. This is where his demons are at, so like that. This is where all this stuff is coming from, and it's not Mephisto. Like, it's actually just Bucky's demons. So yeah, I want to see more about how this is going to transpire.
I love how
Bucky's
he gets it in
absolute
every
last
episode.
Bucky is the last dude that anybody wants to see slipping, because he slips back into who he was. Even Natasha was speaking of him with like absolute reverence, like he was this god level assassin that could get anything done at any time, regardless of who was there and what was supposed to be going on. So seeing Bucky actually, he had to be pushed to that point. He was just so pissed off he was willing to say something. But seeing that he's actually willing to discuss his demons is definitely, as Will was saying, great for his character development as a whole. Because Bucky has not been doing a lot of talking. He's been doing a lot of those looking off in the distance, or he'll just stare at you blankly.
He does that.
Hope you can read between the lines of how pissed off he is just by staring at you.
Right.
When it pisses him off, you start hearing shit, longing, rusted,
Right.
furnace. Like, oh fuck, here we go again.
See, and that's actually the part that comes to my mind. Since Bucky's in the process of going through this, making amends, his my name is Earl list, and he's trying to get all these things crossed off and do better. His being a part of the mission that Sam was on, it's more about. He just wants. I felt like he just went on the mission not to actually help him with the mission, but to just get him done with that, free up his time so he could handle the stuff that he wanted to get to and address the stuff that he wanted to address. And it's kind of like, once he can get that dedicated attention from Sam, that's when they're actually able to discuss what's really bothering him, and he can finally get it out and discuss it and talk about it. But I was also very impressed by Sam's reaction to it. Well, Falcon was kind of like, okay, I get that. You got problems, but everything ain't about you. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, there's some other things happening outside of your little conflict. And, we have this situation over here we have to take care of. That has to be taken care of. And, it's like we probably don't give Sam enough credit for taking into consideration how he feels. Because even with the shield being handed to him, that's a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah.
And he's already stated that and unfortunately they didn't catch this in the last episode. Maybe get that out of y'all here. But, he's already talking about the shoes he has to fill and trying to live up to what he believes Steve represented. And since he did not feel that he could best represent that, he wasn't trying to be Captain America. He was just trying to be Falcon. And that still leaves no place really for Bucky because he doesn't want to be Winter Soldier. You know what I'm saying? He wants to be Bucky, not Winter Soldier. And that kind of came to mind when he was on top of that truck and he was kind of getting his ass kicked. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what kind of training did these guys get that they was really like piecing him up? Super Soldier or not, they shouldn't have had like the years of training that Bucky had or the years of experience that Bucky has to be hailing him like that. And then New Cap gets up there and he dink, 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 dink. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, wait a minute. Why they try to really paint this man as like doing something? Okay, I see it.
Yeah.
Even Battlestar got his licks in.
Man, fuck Battlestar and his hairline.
Hey man, what I do? Nah, but for real, I really did like Sam's response because I think to go back to almost like the race conversation, I think a lot of times, I got a lot of text messages over the summer that were basically just like, I'm sorry, I haven't done enough. I promise to do better, from like white friends. And I'm just like, well, I don't know what the hell you want me to like say or do about that. Like, this is not about like you. I mean, it is about you and what you haven't been doing, but it isn't about like you reaching out to me for validation or whatever. It's just do the work. And I think for Bucky, I also have to just remind myself, like, this is a man who has been in and out of time sporadically for the last 100 years, essentially. He probably doesn't have any understanding about race relations. Same with, like, in my opinion, Steve. Like, otherwise, it's just like, if you knew about Isaiah Bradley, the last thing in the world you should have done was hand that shield to a black man because you already knew what was going to happen with that. And I think, a lot of black people's response in the past when talking to white people about race has kind of been this thing of like, well, yeah, let me give you this reading. And okay, yeah, I'll answer it. Like, you turn into like Blackopedia for your white friends. And people are just like frustrated with that. And I think Sam kind of went into it like, okay, man, I understand you have your demons that you're working through, but those are your demons for you to work through. And these are other things that I have going on that I'm focused on. And we don't know the conversations that Sam had with the government and everybody else. The only conversation we've kind of seen is with Rhodey. And Rhodey kind of just being like, hey, man, what's going on? Like Tupac had the famous line that we ain't ready to see a black president. I mean, I would say we probably even less ready for a black Captain America than we ever have been for a black president. And Sam is kind of just like, we got a mission that we got to figure out now. We got these flag smashers. We got super soldiers running amok. We can sit down and have this conversation about like your self-worth and your value and how you feel like that ties into like me wielding the shield. And we can have that conversation when we deal with this problem. But I don't have the time to like walk you through and baby step you through like all the issues of what led to me giving up this shield in order to make you feel better right now. And you're going to have to be okay with that if we're going to work together. When this is all over, we can have whatever conversation you feel like we need to have. And I respected that because it kind of just is asserting this whole like, you're coming on my missions. You know what I mean? You're like, I'm not going on a Winter Soldier mission. You're going on a Falcon mission. And if you're going to be involved in this, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take all this baggage. You know, this ain't Southwest. You know, bags don't fly free.
We're going to throw this in the ocean.
Exactly. It's like, we're going to put that box in the attic. And when we get home, we'll go in the attic and get that box and open it up and do whatever you need to do with it.
To that point, I was also impressed, as we've mentioned, like just seeing Sam's movement in the flight suit and things like that. They're doing a really good job of showing his capabilities and his, you know, his hand capabilities and the way he integrates his fighting style with the suit. But when they were doing the mission and Bucky, you know, like did his little stealth thing and ran up to the thing and they were communicating back and forth, he looked back and, you know, Sam was standing right there next to him. And even he was shocked. Basically, he just snuck up on the Winter Soldier. So we're going to start to see that even though he's not enhanced, he doesn't have the superpowers, Falcon is really going to, I believe that we're going to start to see more of him asserting himself, taking command, and seeing that he is in fact worthy. I'm very curious to see if we will see it in the 6 episodes. I feel like, you know, don't want to red string it too early here, but I'm wondering if we're going to see the Captain America Falcon suit before the like post credit of episode 6, you know?
Yeah, I wonder too. Anywho, moving on through the episode. So we're basically at the end of the episode. They leave the therapy session, go outside, have this conversation where, you know, John Walker's still, you know, come on, man, join the team. And basically, Falcon and Winter Soldier are like, y'all got too much oversight. You got too many bosses. I need to be able to like move freely. So it doesn't make sense for us to work together. To which John Walker responds, then better stay out of my way. Not the most Captain America response that I would expect in a scenario like that, but cool. And then as they walk away, they have a conversation about going to see Baron von Zemo. The return of Zemo. We get the classic operatic scenery and, you know, soundtrack to showcase this isn't a bruiser. He's not a brute. This guy's smart.
Yeah.
And you know, that's how kind of the episode ends. So we're gonna go into our like classic ending of just going around, do a round robin of like, what do you guys want to see? Like, what's the question or want to see in the next episode?
I want to know more about this this blip world before everybody was blipped back. And even though they're going to see Zemo, I wonder if it's going to be a team up. Because they're going to, you know, like they're basically going to go get this guy out of like Supermax prison and whatnot. And that feels like that's an old trope. Anytime you got to get the guy out of Supermax, he's got to help you. That's the condition of, you know, at a reduced time kind of stuff. So is he going to be fighting on the side of good the next episode because the Flag Smashers go against his beliefs or something? And, you know, he's totally about his beliefs and morals. So that's what I wanted. Is this going to be a team up, and will we get more information about the blip world?
The interesting thing about that I'm looking forward for the next episode is I want to see how Bucky interacts with Zemo. I'm sure there's a lot of complicated emotions and feelings about being used as a puppet throughout an entire movie just for him never to get that final confrontation that, you know, Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman had with Zemo. So to have Zemo now show up and bring him back and be like, we're going to go bust out this dude that literally fucked with my brain, made me want to kill everybody and everything I hold dear, and I'm supposed to be okay with this, is really going to test how far Bucky's therapy sessions have really brought him as a human being.
Gonna let us know if he's really the White Wolf.
White Panther.
Will.
I think that we're definitely going to get something interesting out of Zemo. I'm pretty sure we're going to see him put on his suit, and we're going to see him stuff like that. I kind of in the back of my head, I'm red stringing it a little bit. So with that, I'm like, okay, is all this part of a ploy and stuff like that, freaking to get Zemo out so he can start running some shit, to do some shit? I don't know, freaking, or when they go to see him, is he gonna get broken out before they get to see him or something? Like, I don't know. I kind of feel like there's more going on to it than just we're gonna walk in and talk to him and we're gonna head out. So curious to see how that's gonna go. I do got more thoughts on how this is gonna go with Bradley. I think that he's still relevant and so like that, and can still make an appearance later on in the show for something, even if a simple one-off and so like that. But it also sets up for something else in my head to red string and so like that, along with the Young Avengers and so like that, which I'm not going to get too much into that right now. But yeah, I just think this next episode should really showcase. It should showcase more Zemo than anything. I think I've got a good feel on Sam and Bucky right now. Walker, I got just enough to know that he's a dick and stuff like that, and I want to see where Zemo's head is at. So I say, give me a good chunk of Zemo and a little bit more Walker, and let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with your thoughts on when they left. Like when the cops took Bucky away, Sam looked back at the door. I was like, okay, he'll be back. That's like classic TV or movie trope for like, we're looking back at the door to show you we're not done with this character yet. But I think my question definitely ties more into like, Sam, what you were talking about with like the blip world. I want to know I just want to hear more about their plan of how they're going to get back to that. Like, are they trying to take out like specific people who have, anti one world views, or are they like really talking about like, how can we kill 3 billion people and get the world back to where they are? So I'm definitely, because it kind of feels like this ragtag group of terrorists, but also like it doesn't. And also like we've seen in our own country, like what we think a ragtag group of people can like organize and do fairly quickly and cause like a fair amount of damage fairly quickly to things that we thought were impenetrable. So I'm really focused on like the flag smashers, because for me, I like to think about the villains' motives, because that usually like informs a lot of how the heroes have to like deal with the threat. So yeah, that has been our recap. I want to say apologies to everybody because I forgot to do something very, very important, and that's to tell you to smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell so you can get piping hot, grown AE content fresh out the oven whenever you want it. All right, people. But seriously, like, this has been a great chat. For Sam, Brent. Oh, QR codes. Definitely hit up the group. We'd love to see you guys in there having discussions about the episodes. If you have thoughts, feelings, drop them in the comments below. What do you want to see happen in the next episode? We love to hear from you guys.
How did you feel about John Walker?
AKA FAP. Yeah, drop those sweet dank memes in the group as well, because we love to see all that kind of content.
Embargo's lifted at 2 p.m. tomorrow.
It's Mondays at 2 p.m. So whenever
Mondays
you watch this video,
2
it's
p.m.
Monday at 2 p.m. Embargo's lifted. Come feel free to chit chat with us and talk, and we will have this available. But you don't have to wait with this. You can talk. You can drop comments in here right here, because we have a spoiler warning at the beginning of this. So
yes,
for
right in.
Sure. So for Sam, Brent, and Will, I'm Jeff. Thank you for coming. See you guys next week. Peace.